Okay, in global politics, there is a pretty standard playbook, right? Nations seek funding, they build alliances, and they hold on to foreign aid as tightly as possible. So, what happens when a nation voluntarily turns down billions of dollars in military assistance from its most powerful ally? Well, today in this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly that.
To figure this out, we'll break it down into 5 steps. First, a remarkable announcement. Second, the origins of the support. Third, Israel's own defense industry. Fourth, the hidden reality. And fifth, we'll ask if this is all just a political stunt.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, a remarkable announcement.
So, in a recent interview, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dropped a bombshell. He explicitly stated a desire to end the financial component of U.S.-Israel military cooperation. He literally said he wants to draw it down to zero. Now, from a geopolitical standpoint, this raises a massive question. Why? Why on earth would a nation actively at war want to cut off its military allowance?
And to truly understand the stakes here, you have to grasp the sheer size of the number. We are talking about walking away from $3.8 billion of annual support. That is a staggering amount of money to just voluntarily leave on the table. But, context is everything.
Which brings us to Section 2, the origins of the support. Let's look back.
Because looking just below the surface completely changes our perspective. Yes, $3.8 billion sounds absolutely enormous, but get this. Experts estimate Israel's total defense budget sits at roughly $50 billion. So suddenly, that $3.8 billion slice from the U.S., it isn't the whole pie anymore. It's really just a fraction of their overall military spending.
Now, to understand the roots of this money, we have to look back a few decades, because this isn't a new development. This funding was originally established following the historic 1978 Camp David Accords under President Jimmy Carter. When Israel and Egypt established peace, an annual military aid package of roughly $3.5 billion was initiated for both nations, basically to help secure regional stability. But defense specialists point out a really crucial historical condition attached to this aid. There's this great Dutch idiom for it, cigar uit eigen doos, which translates to a cigar from your own box, meaning this money wasn't exactly a blank check. A primary condition was that the funds had to be spent within the United States. So effectively, this massive aid package has long acted as a U.S. defense industry jobs program, rather than just some no-strings-attached gift.
Moving right along to Section 3, Israel's own defense industry.
Over the decades, Israel hasn't just been buying American gear, they have systematically built a wildly capable and independent defense industry of their own. They built their own fighter jets based on Dassault Mirage jet plans. They actively export high-tech, long-range missiles globally to countries like the Netherlands. They've historically maintained foreign fleets like Turkey's fighter jets. And perhaps most mind-blowing, they launch their own satellites. Because of their specific geography, they actually have to launch them against the Earth's rotation. That requires incredibly powerful, sophisticated rockets compared to a standard launch.
And this unprecedented access perfectly highlights their unique military position. Take the American F-35 fighter jet, literally one of the most advanced pieces of machinery on Earth. Israel doesn't just buy the hardware. They are the only country in the world granted permission to, quote-unquote, look under the hood and customize the core software to their specific operational needs. That takes an immense level of technological independence.
Now for Section 4, the hidden reality beneath the surface.
The crucial takeaway here is that this $3.8 billion, it's just a surface-level metric. International relations experts emphasize that we have to carefully separate the illusion from the reality. The illusion is that giving up this financial aid means Israel and the U.S. are breaking their strategic alliance. The reality? Their ties remain deeply unbroken, completely cemented through shared intelligence, joint technological development, and incredibly deep military coordination. For example, consider a highly timed leak recently published in the Wall Street Journal. It revealed a secret Israeli military base located in Iraq. The purpose of this base? To support U.S. military operations. Analysts argue that leaks like this are far from accidental. They are clear, deliberate signals that the underlying alliance is just as robust and functional as ever. Their technological integration is completely fused. Just look at the famous Iron Dome system. It's a perfect hybrid. Israeli-designed radar technology pairing seamlessly with American-made interceptor missiles. In fact, this tech is so intertwined and effective that U.S. leadership, specifically Donald Trump, has advocated for building an American version dubbed the Golden Dome, based on this exact joint technology. They aren't drifting apart. They're actually building together.
And finally, Section 5. Is this all just a political stunt? Because if Israel doesn't actually need the money to survive, and the military ties aren't breaking, why say any of this out loud on TV? Well, foreign policy analysts suggest this entire situation is highly calculated political theater. Recently, there's been friction over U.S. pressure regarding Lebanon and Iran. By publicly offering to decline the financial aid, Netanyahu projects leverage and independence. Simultaneously, this plays perfectly into Donald Trump's America First platform, letting him claim a major reduction in foreign aid spending. It's a maneuver where both leaders get a domestic political victory without disrupting a single core component of their actual strategic alliance.
Ultimately, experts view this not as a genuine rupture in diplomacy, but as a pre-cooked psychological stunt. It's a narrative designed by both sides to send a very specific message of unshakable strength to the surrounding region, particularly to adversaries like Iran. It proves that even without the traditional checkbook diplomacy, their combined military capability remains entirely uncompromised.
So, I'll leave you with this to think about. We are so used to tracking dollars to track power. But as traditional financial levers disappear and get replaced by this kind of high-level, purely psychological diplomacy, how will this new chess game reshape the future balance of power in the Middle East? It's a fascinating shift, and definitely one we'll be keeping a close eye on. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning what's beneath the surface.